If you are a frequent listener to the podcast, you know that we have been sponsored by Fuji Sports for quite some time now. Whether you're looking for apparel, equipment, bags, or accessories, Fuji Sports has got it covered. Go to fujisports.com to see the latest selection of everything you need for your jiu-jitsu, judo, or MMA journey. That's fujisports.com. Let me take a minute to tell you about Roll TV. If you're looking to take your jiu-jitsu to the next level and supplement your BJJ education, then Roll TV has you covered. RollAcademy.tv has over 1,500 videos covering individual techniques, positions, and concepts, including seminars and workshops with top-level competitors and instructors like Chris Wojcik, Robert Drysdale, Aaron Hurley, Emily Kwok, and more. Whether you are a beginner or more advanced student, Roll TV is the online platform that can take your jiu-jitsu to the next level. What's up, everyone, and welcome back. If you haven't already, please hit the like, share, subscribe, download, listen, and whatever other button there is, and leave a review wherever you do listen. This makes sure that we can continue bringing you the amazing guests and content you've come to expect. This week, Thomas and his guest discuss the transformative power of jiu-jitsu, the need to embrace failure, the role of instructors beyond the mats, and more. Here's the curator of DFM coaching and instructor at Gracie La Mesa in La Mesa, California, David Figueroa-Martinez.
Welcome to Raw Radio.
And we are live. David, Professor, great to see you. Great to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. Sorry, the work week, a lot of stuff is going on. So this is actually going to be a little bit of a break for me, which I'm thankful for right now.
Well, you're welcome.
Yeah. A lot of work stuff. Yeah. A lot of work stuff, and it's just been a little stressful. So like getting away for a minute, even if it's just an hour, it's a blessing right now.
Is that difficult for you to get away from work and disconnect and not allow the pressures and weight of responsibilities to not collapse underneath, or not to pressure you down?
A little. I have a personality that's very like I gotta solve problems. And sometimes when that is that way, I'm constantly thinking about it outside of work. I'm thinking about it at home. I'm thinking about, I got to do this or that. More so now because I'm also a supervisor. So I'm taking on added responsibilities. I am a salaried employee, so I'm technically not off the clock in a traditional sense. So it is quite a bit. And I've needed to teach myself how to disconnect more. I got to take more time off. I got to enjoy more jiu-jitsu. I got to enjoy more writing and reading, but it's a task for me.
And we'll talk about your writing in a bit. We'll get to it. I know you love it so much. But do talk to me. Why is this so hard? What's so challenging about letting go? I mean, many would say, who cares? I mean, like, stop caring, just turn it off, like, close it. Like, it from simplicity perspective, it appears to be so easy, yet it not really, right?
No, my brain just doesn't work that way. Like, my brain is constantly running scenarios. It's one of the things that I need to work on. Like, for example, if I'm out with friends, I'm constantly thinking about the people around me, what's going on, and I don't know if there's a trauma response from when I was a kid or what, but it's always like, oh, what is this person going to say? What is this person on this weirdo near by the door is going to do? And it's constantly on play. My brain rarely shuts off. One of the few times that it shuts off is when I'm rolling. I don't think about anything else, and I can just focus on the task at hand. But it's been a real challenge for me, and I think part of it is that I'm not a perfectionist, but I'm just always constantly wanting to solve problems, get things off my desk, work on something else, and sometimes that's not a reality.
Well, some would consider this as a blessing in a sense that you getting things done. I mean, the opposite side of the spectrum here is being procrastinator
Right.
and not getting anything done. I mean, I know few of those, and it's like we've been talking about this for months now. Oh my God, like this is a low hanging fruit. Let's get this done. And you're describing the opposite side of all of this, that the amount of things that you want to get done, it might be overwhelming. Does that ever stop you, that there are so many things that it just piles up to the point where you are unable to be efficient?
So I think for me, the bigger thing is, those tasks that just never really get done. It's just ongoing. Those are the ones that drive me nuts. I have a couple of those right now with work, and I can't seem to just finish what it is because it gets piled on and it grows past a certain point, and I get frustrated. Um, there are times when I feel like I don't have enough time in the day. There's like a story in my head that I want to write that I just have not been able to sit down and just put pen to paper or get on a keyboard and write. And that's constantly somewhere back there where I'm like, I want to get this done, or at least I want to start it, and it just doesn't happen. And then on top of that, I'm also thinking about what I'm going to teach this week, what I'm going to teach for the next couple of weeks. I have a student, like I might have a student that I haven't seen in a week or two. I got to go touch base. I have a student that's getting ready to compete, and I got to make sure that he's getting what he needs so that he can compete. So yes, there's a lot of things going on, and really, I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, this is a part of my life that I'm really enjoying. When I was younger, I really didn't know what direction I was going to go. I didn't know what I was going to be, didn't know what I was going to get into. And I didn't start jiu-jitsu till 30. So like that whole period during the 20s, it was just me picking up odd jobs. And I stayed with them for a while, but it wasn't like purpose driven. So I got into jiu-jitsu, started teaching a couple years down the road. And then now I'm at a point where they're calling me professor, and I'm enjoying the responsibility, but it is a weight, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm loving what I'm doing right now. I'm really loving life in general.
What is about life that you're loving so much?
Right now, it's the giving back. It's the I never get bored. I never feel like, oh, I have to go teach this class tomorrow. Very rarely does that ever happen. For me, it's like, oh, I can't wait to go teach. I got competition coming up for some students. I can't wait to see how they do.
Why is that? Why is this such a I can't pinpoint even a verbiage here, but why is this so, I guess, important to you? Why that, not something else? Why not something else in your life?
It might be that I don't have kids. So there's like, some people find that purpose in their kid and making sure that they grow up and they become good stewards of life in general. For me, I don't have kids. So I don't have that to guide me. I don't have that to be my focal point. And so I've kind of put it on. For me, I want to create spaces where people succeed, where people feel comfortable being themselves, where people feel comfortable striving for their goals. And it's just like that moment of being of service is huge for me. And that's really the enjoyment out of this. Like, when I got my black belt, I didn't necessarily go out and celebrate. I meant to go to dinner with some friends and family, and I just never did it. But I celebrate some accomplishment that a student did, and I get super happy for that. And especially when I know the things that a student might be going through, and they stick it out, or they take some kind of advice and they push through that just it elevates me. It's my energy. It's one of the things that I just absolutely love.
I mean, it has to be very satisfying, very refreshing to sit back and watch other people succeed. And you had some contribution to that
Yeah.
result, right?
Yeah.
Is that
It's
what being black belt or being an instructor is all about?
I think so. And you have black belt competitors and their focal point and their drive is going to be different. But I think as a quote unquote professor and instructor, it's time that you start giving back to someone else. Between white and I would say late blue, I competed a lot. I was more focused on me, the things that I wanted to attain. And not that I was a competition at like worlds, were winning world titles, but I just enjoyed competing for almost selfish reasons. I wanted to test myself. Now, at brown and then now black, for me, it's like the drive is I want to see what I can do with other people, especially people who don't see that in themselves. And that change that you can kind of create by a couple of simple words, a little push. Sometimes you invest in them monetarily, you pay for a sponsorship just to, hey, I think you're going to do really well. Let's go get this. And that changes their outcome, both in jiu-jitsu and off the mats, and they become almost different people. That's the focal point for me.
I had Sanji Ribeiro on this show this was a while back, probably over a year ago. But he mentioned something that you're describing right now, which he said, competition is a selfish act. It's all about you. Nothing else matters. Your family has to be put on side. Your immediate significant other, kids, all that has to hold for a moment. Your coaches, your training partners, all about you. You're focused on only you. But now, when you become a instructor or you step into the instructor role or maybe a coaching role, it's all about somebody else. It's no longer about you. It's a very selfless act of doing things for others to benefit and others to grow with minimal reward, in a sense of the compensation back. You're not expecting anything in return. Would you agree with that philosophy?
Completely. I had a buddy of mine who I kind of mentored. Now he kicks my ass, but he's a little
That's what
younger.
buddies do, don't they?
Yeah. He was a little younger and he worked the front desk, and he was just someone that I really vibed with. We worked really well together, and he was just getting so good. And I can't remember if he was purple belt at the time. And I was like, I think you could do really good at a competition. Have you thought about it? And he's like, maybe. And I was like, what if I paid for it or paid for a portion of it? How would you feel? He's like, let me give it some thought. He ends up coming back. And the fun part was that he accepted. He went in, had some really tough matches. But I was so proud because he didn't back down. He made some mistakes. He worked through those mistakes. He showed heart, grit, pushed himself through, and he ends up getting gold in the competition. And it was, for me, the greatest feeling for me. Like someone who at that moment didn't quite see themselves as a competitor or that they would do well, maybe. I'm not trying to speak for him. But then to see him now, and he's literally killing me on the mats. I have nothing for him anymore. Like, we're both black belts, but he murders me. But it's fun to watch that growth and that step forward where you're not doing it for money or even recognition on a bigger level. Like, no one knows that I did that in the world necessarily. But just to watch what he's done with it that's the reward for me. So there's literally nothing financial. No one's ever done anything for me or bought me something and really, I don't even want that. Like, my wife the other day, I'll go out and get coffee with my morning students on Fridays on occasion, and they'll ask if I want coffee. And I'm one of those people that I don't want people feeling like they have to buy me something simply because of my rank or my position. So I always say no. And my wife's like, they're just buying you coffee. Just accept it. Someone wants to do something nice for you, accept it. So I'm trying to get to that stage. But at the same time, I'm just doing it because I love what I'm doing.
Do you think there's a little pride inside of you, in a sense of, I don't want people to do things for me. I want to be the one doing for them?
Definitely. And this might go back to my childhood. I figured out a lot of things on my own. I didn't have someone necessarily guiding me like hey, you should do this. You do. My mom did it the best she could, and she did a lot. But like, I didn't have a male figure that went out of his way to make sure that I was learning the things that I needed to learn. So I learned to be very independent. And so there's a little bit of me where I don't ask for help. I don't ask. I was moving a couple of years ago. I didn't ask anyone to help me move. I just paid for movers. And friends are like, "Oh, do you need move? I got a truck. Do you need anything?" And I was like, "No, I'm good." And I feel like the minute that I need to ask, I want it to be so big and so that I'm in so much need that no one can say no, because I never was the type to ask for a bunch of stuff. So there's a certain pride in that. Yes. It's something that I need to work on, to be honest with you.
Well, we all got things to gotta work on. I mean, I can list laundry of things that I'm not good at, and I need to improve in. But I think this is the interesting part of life, that is a ongoing and never-ending education, in a sense. Like, those who do recognize that we have things to get better at, those really grow, and those who, the moment we acknowledge that there's nothing else, then why are we here? Don't you
I
agree?
completely agree. Completely agree.
Like, I feel like sometimes, it's easy for us to say, like, I'm done, I'm the best, but then what? Then what do you do next? You got to find something else, right? Because we can't just sit. It's against our human nature just to not to do anything. Even those who want to not to do anything, they still got to do something, right?
Yeah. I think this is one of the challenges in society in general. I see a lot of friends who they do the Monday through Friday gig. They get off work. They don't challenge themselves. They don't do anything outside of the job. And I see a lot of unhappy people. So for me, I'm constantly challenging myself. I'm constantly reading books about how to be a better leader, how to be a better supervisor, how to be a better instructor. I'm constantly looking at different ways of running a class. I want to know what works. What am I doing necessarily incorrectly, or maybe not as well? And for me, I just want to know more, and I never want to lose that part of like natural curiosity and wanting to get better at whatever it is that I'm doing, whether that's writing, whether it's public speaking. For example, this is not my second nature. I'm an introvert. I keep to myself. The thought of, oh, I'm holding classes or I'm doing podcasts is foreign. It would not have been something that I did 5 years ago, let alone quite a few in the last year. I'm teaching. I'm feeling comfortable teaching it. So the growth is real, and I'm proud of myself for that. And I still want to keep that white belt mentality of just, what else can I learn? What else can I improve on? Where are my holes? What can I do better?
Good for you. I gotta tell you, because more I talk to people, more people I meet through jiu-jitsu and just in life, there is a substantial amount of people out there who they just want to coast through life, and they're not necessarily they know everything. Like it's not the cockiness of it, if you will, or overconfidence, but it's just the satisfaction of status quo. Like, I don't need to do it. I can just check in, check out. Life is good. Tomorrow's another day, and I'll just continue repeating this. And you are describing something completely opposite of that. That no matter what I do, how much I grow, how much I learn, there is something more that I can learn. There's a little bit more that I can grasp. I can get my hands on something else. These experiences are important to us, aren't they? I mean, this is how we become better as humans, as instructors, as jiu-jitsu players, no?
Yeah, the idea that I could, at 14, almost 14 years training, that I feel like I can know everything is unrealistic. The idea
But
that
wait a minute. Hold on a second. You're the black belt. You know everything. Like, you got to eat acai and surf, and life
not
is
even
good.
close. Not even close.
But isn't that interesting how that perception exists for those who, you have students, you have new students walking in, and many look at the highest ranking or high ranking. Doesn't even have to be a black belt, but like, wow, the amount of information this person knows. And now you're describing Wait, no. We were just scratching the surface, buddy. We didn't even. No. Isn't that interesting how that perception changes? More we know, more we want to know.
Literally, the month I got my black belt, people started treating me different. Professor this, professor that. There's this weird like hierarchy and super respect that I started getting, but I didn't get it when I was a brown belt. Not that they didn't respect me, but it wasn't at that level. Um, and it's just this weird like, oh, he knows everything. I'm like, I really don't. So when people ask me questions and I don't know the answer, I guide them to a student, a blue, purple, brown belt that they know this game. I would ask them, this is what I do in this situation, but it's not the best. Ask Jake. Jake knows what this position is. He knows this better than I do. Get with him on it. Like, I have no interest in keeping that facade of like, I know everything or I know everything that's on the mats or even off the mats. I get people asking me medical advice. And I'm like, I don't. You could tape it, but I don't know. Don't ask me. Like, I go see a doctor.
I was about to say, as black belts, as instructors, often we are psychologists, psychiatrists, family therapists, doctors, surgeons, and then somewhere jiu-jitsu instructor falls into all of this, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Why do you think that happens? Why do you think people place so much trust in one who is in front of that class? Why do you think? I mean, I'm sure it has happened to you. People come to me for advice, and like I am not qualified to give you that advice. I love you. I will help you. I will find somebody for you, but I should not be discussing this with you.
Yeah.
Like why people put so much trust in that individual in front of that class?
I think for me, I'm 44. So I think those movies during the 80s of martial arts instructors just being like the way and knowing everything and being all knowing has something to do with it. But the more I got into it, the more I started seeing behind the curtain. I realized, oh, these people don't know shit. Like, they're no different than me. Some of them are very compassionate and they have a good understanding of multiple fields. And they're just human beings that kind of study or pay attention to things. They have big hearts. They're compassionate, and they can give advice to a certain degree on multiple things. But like, what you should do about your knee, I have no idea. Like, what you should do about your taxes, I have no idea. Like, now, could we, like instructors, because we know so many students, like you said, hey, Joe Blow, he knows taxes. This guy over here knows drywall. Like, we can always guide people in certain directions, but yeah, I always found it really odd to have that air of like super respect for knowledge and the things that I really don't have any business speaking of. So I'm honest.
Somebody recently told me truly what separates phenomenal instructors from everybody else is the fact that they might not know all the answers, but they can guide you how to
Right.
get the answers. And often that's underestimated. Would you agree with that?
Completely. I don't even like being called professor. I think it gives a certain air of prestige that I don't feel I deserve necessarily.
Why?
I think it gives the impression of all knowing or knowing more than I know. My preferred is coach. Coach to me is
Okay.
right up there. It's more like when I run a class or I teach or I coach a student, my goal isn't to hold your hand and guide you down a certain path. For me, it's more of what are your interests, understanding you as a person, and then giving you a couple of lessons or a couple of ideas that maybe you can run with. And then when I see you veering off the path that you should probably be on, I guide you back. I maybe tell you, hey, this is your goals. These are the things you wanted to accomplish. These are the things that you're really good at. Let's steer you back.
I made a note actually as you were talking, as you were telling the story. You said that you don't find yourself as a public speaker, and that's an area which doesn't come easy and you work towards. But many would find that almost like an oxymoron in a sense. Well, wait a minute, but you stand in front of a class every single day and you do speak. Like, how, how is that? And I'll tell you why I'm asking this, because I have a fear of public speaking. You put me in front of a room of 70 students and teach jujitsu, and I'll do this every single minute. But you put me in a room of 5 people and they give them a presentation, I'm gonna profusely start sweating, stuttering, and I don't even know what I'm doing. And I cannot figure this out myself. Anytime anybody mentioned this, I want to pick their brain. Why is this like this? Why are we afraid of public speaking? Yet we can stand in front of a class and we can teach.
That is a great question, actually. Um, I think a part of it is that this is tied into your passion. So whether you're podcasting or teaching, for you, this is your passion. So it's almost like you have the knowledge base to back up what you're doing. Um, and it's something that you love. So you'll bear with the public speaking aspect. But if you put me in front of a conference room to discuss inventory or shipping and receiving, I'm sweating. But at the same time, I'm going to admit, like every time I get up here right before a podcast, this one specifically, like I was super nervous. Just to pull back the curtain, uh, I was here 30 minutes early. I am a former military guy, Army. So for us, be early, be ready. So I was here in front of the laptop, ready to go 30 minutes early. That's my brain because I'm so conscious and worried about what it's going to look like, how it's going to appear, that I don't want to look bad or flub my words or look like I'm ill prepared. Uh, so, in that sense, I think a lot of it is the things that we're really passionate about will grit and bear some of the other stuff. But even I did a workshop last Wednesday at a gym that I had never been to, and I got nervous, almost that competition jitters of like, oh, are they going to like me? Am I going to be the type of instructor they're used to or will want? Um, Different schools have different vibes, different approaches, and I was sitting here worried, is in the sense of, does my approach fit this school? I didn't know if it was going to. It fortunately did, but there's always that concern. Anytime that I'm doing something brand new or maybe a new crop of students, I get nervous, and I'm not gonna lie and brush that off and be like, oh, it doesn't frighten me a bit. But at the same time, it's something that I absolutely love doing, that I'll accept those weird emotions and I try to reframe them into, you like this, you're excited, opposed to you're scared. And but I'll admit, I get nervous, I get scared, I get sweaty, my heart races. But being in front of a classroom is fun. It's exhilarating. Um, I live for those light bulb moments that you give a student when they're struggling or someone asks a question and you can just give them one answer and they're like, oh, okay. And they run with it. Like those are the moments I absolutely live for. But I do flub my words sometimes and I say knee instead of elbow or whatever. And I'll stop and I'm like, ugh, and I just move past it. But yeah, there's quite a bit of that for me. And public speaking is it's not something I do naturally, but I've gotten a lot better with it. And I've challenged myself to start doing workshops at places that I don't normally teach to kind of improve that. I've challenged myself to do podcasts when I'm asked, because again, I want to put my name out there. I want to be more seen. I want to invest in me and improve things that I know that I'm not necessarily strong at. And I want to teach the people that are coming under me that do it scared if you need to do it. Like it is what it is.
It's good to hear that, because I do think that there's a lot of people scared of doing things and they don't even start. They have a big dream and they are afraid of failure, afraid of being judged, afraid of being criticized, and afraid of what ifs, and it never really gets off the ground, and it's a shame that we live in those fears. and we don't take the opportunities, not enough opportunities that we have in our lives. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, that's the way I was in my 20s. I was really apprehensive, worried of what people would think. What if I fail? What if someone laughs? What if I do a podcast and I blank out? Like all these things come to mind. At 44, in my 40s, I don't care as much. I'm still worried about certain things, but I'm not worried in the sense of I don't want to get to 60, 65 and look back and be like, oh, I should have tried this. I should have put myself out there. I had this idea for a story and I didn't write it because I was worried about what someone might think. So in my 40s, it's about pushing myself and challenging.
Is that a conscious decision, or is
Yes.
that something that just comes from wisdom of life?
It probably goes hand in hand. But I know a lot of people who grow old and also let a lot of their dreams just kind of like pass them by. There's this weird quote or story where when you pass, you don't want to be faced with the ghosts of all the things you didn't do.
Oh, okay.
And I don't want to get to the point where I get to the end of life and I just had all these regrets of things that I wanted to do that I didn't pursue, that I didn't put enough time in. So I actively look for things that I want to do and mark them off. Not literally, but for me, it's like, okay, I got that out of the way. Success or failure for me at this point didn't matter.
Yeah.
I just want to see things through.
Yeah, I recently came across this phrase or quote where somebody, it was a conversation between two people, and one of them asked, is like, what's on your bucket list? And it's like, to be honest, on my bucket list that I don't have a bucket list. I want to do everything, and I don't want to have a list,
Yeah.
And it really hit me from a perspective of, well, yeah, that's the whole point, right? Like, when the only certain thing in life is that we're gonna expire, and I'm very outspoken about this. Like, the moment I hit my mid 40s, it's like, well, that the time is now is against me,
Yeah.
and like it is what it is. So it creates more value in a sense what we do and how we do it. And yeah, I don't want to be on my last days and thinking I wish I could have, I maybe I should have. None of that should exist. That's how we know we fulfilled our time and we've done what we wanted to do, right?
Yeah. And it's hard. Like life gets in the way and you got X priorities and work and whatever. But I feel like I don't want to spend 40 hours a week uh, at work and then not invest in me and push towards things that I want to do. So I'm very active in, I want to see where things are going to go. I created a company the end of last year. If it fails, it fails. Like at this stage, I'm not as worried about concerns of people, what they might say online or amongst friends or amongst family. I'm pushing for everything else. And even in the failures, like that's what Jiu-Jitsu has taught me. Even in the failures, you're picking up data points that are going to be beneficial to something else that you might end up doing. That if I was learning a specific sweep, I can't get it, but then I can use that framework into this other sweep or this other situation, and then it works. So I'm picking up data points anyway. So we might as well just go out there and try as hard as you can into anything that you're passionate about, and just see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. There's not enough people trying and pushing it to that level. I think we give up too often, especially these days, especially the young people these days. I think that drive to achieve and the grit is probably not as visible as what I would like to see, at least.
To be fair, not to
Yeah.
cut you off, to be fair, I think we grew up in a time where we didn't have social media and you didn't have
Oh yeah.
a bunch of like
I
people that, I don't meet this mark or I'm falling short here. And that alone is a massive wall for people to try to climb over. That I get it. And to your point, I understand what you're saying too. And I agree with you, but we didn't have that wall of like, 1,000 eyeballs looking at us as we
Oh,
failed.
100%. 100%. The life today is very different than literally just a couple decades ago when we
Yeah.
were younger. It is completely different world. And the
Yeah.
expectations and who is looking, how you're being judged, the fact that you are being judged. I feel like when I was younger, nobody gave a crap about anything.
Yeah.
Like, you fell, okay. Are you alive? Like, okay, then get up. I mean, that's how my dad was. That's how my parents were. Like, if I didn't do it, nothing got done. But I also think that prepared us to who we are today. And I
Yeah.
think that shaped us to the mental state that we are representing today. And I think because of the social media presence, because of the accessibility, because of the ease of technology that we experiencing today, the generations after us, they look at this from very different. I'm not saying wrong or right. I'm just
Yeah.
saying very different. And I think this is why we can see the generational differences between, I don't know, the Gen X, Z, and Y, and all the other. I don't
Yeah.
know the names. I don't care about that part. But there are differences between how people process information and how they approach life today versus to
Correct.
what was 20 years ago, right?
The plus side on this is there are so many educational tools that we can now benefit from
100%.
that
100%.
yes, there's a stress of like, oh, people are going to watch my failures. But at the same time, there's this other avenue of like, just pick the brain of whoever is around you, whatever online support. Like, so the plus and minuses we didn't have. Like when I was coming up, there were VHS tapes of Kimura Trap System and a couple of other things. There weren't, Jiu-Jitsu wasn't everywhere like it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Now we could start to look at, oh, I have a specific game for Donkey Guard, for example, as odd as that is. Let me go listen to this instructional and let me develop this. If you want to be a writer, there's so many tools out there that you want to use. There's everything's out there. It's just, in essence, having the grit to get over the worry of failure
Mm-hmm.
and what people are going to think, and then tapping into all those resources that we have that are plentiful.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you. I mean, like I've said this story in the previous episodes, but like I remember as a white belt sitting on the mat and I had a jiu-jitsu book and 4 pictures on each page and literally like 4, 5, 6 guys sitting around me and we are scratching our heads. How the hell did he get from point A to point B? This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And we sat there for hours trying to figure this out versus today.
Yeah.
You pick it up on your phone and you look it up. YouTube for free, subscriptions, BJJ Fanatics.
Yeah.
Like there's so many opportunities to do that. The differences are before you had to hunt it
Mhm.
and find it. Now it's in front of you. You need to be willing to go get it, and that's a different mindset, right?
Yeah. I think there's something beautiful about having to, like, you sat down with your friends figuring out these 4 pictures and how they worked.
You know what I'm talking about. You were laughing. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You did that too, didn't you? I mean,
Yeah. And there's a skill set that you develop in having to figure this thing out, this puzzle.
yeah.
That's a beautiful asset and a skill development that you get there. And I think that the flip side, again, I think that there's also a little bit of too much. You're trying to drink out of a fire hose.
Fire hose, yeah.
So sometimes when I'm talking with students, I'll suggest something specific to them, opposed to, hey, go find the instructional on back takes. Like, even within something as simple as a back take, there's so many different things.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
I just want you to work on this, get really good at this, and then we'll develop what's going to come next or what's going to be the offshoot. Don't drown yourself in all these other things that at the end of the day may distract you from the skill development that you want.
So how do you dissect through this information? I mean, let's just say that I'm starting today. It's my first week, first month. I'm hungry. I'm loving this. I am so drawn in and addicted to this, and I want to look at back takes. Like first, like if you just put back takes on YouTube, you're gonna get like 7 billion freaking results. right? So that's one. Big part of them might not be applicable. The other parts is done by instructors that, I don't know, maybe their teaching is not as good. Like, how do you, and then body types. I mean, oh my God,
Yeah.
like that's another factor that we're not even considering in any of this. It's like, how do you weed out? How do you filter before you start digesting?
As an instructor, we've been around for a while, so we kind of understand what works and doesn't work, even if you've never seen a technique. Like if you watch something for the first time, you can look at it and be like, well, that's not really realistic. I love it when students come to me and be like, what do you think about this? And I can give them feedback. And again, I don't tell anyone, don't do this, but I'll say, if this is the path you want to take, be mindful of these other things and keep yourself within a guardrail. For me, when I'm talking to new students and we're discussing building a game, I try to give them things that will fit different situations, but in almost working identical. Like, let's say we do 2-on-1 from half. We could take the back from there. We do 2-on-1 from close guard. Same mechanics, we could take the back from there. You decide you want to expand to 2-on-1 from butterfly guard. So now the tools that they're learning, it's the same tool that they can apply in different situations. So they don't have to learn 4 or 5 different back takes. They can learn the one, translate it to the positions that they're in, gain more familiarity, be more comfortable, more confident, and then they can start to develop what may develop off of that 2-on-1 or that attack system. And that's the way I tend to approach it. I don't want to throw in too many techniques, too many different systems. Like, let's simplify it. Let's see what you can translate to other positions so that you don't have to learn as much and you can just gain confidence along the way. After that, then the game is yours. You develop however you want. But by that point, the students tend to have a deeper understanding of, like, oh, this is how I build systems necessarily. If that makes sense.
No, absolutely. I mean, deeper understanding of what we're trying to do is important. Otherwise, we just spitting out steps, right? And that,
Yeah,
there's millions of them, then, especially in jiu-jitsu, right? Endless possibilities.
and growing.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. David, let's take this back a little bit. You talked about your personality being different in your 20s. You talked about starting jiu-jitsu later in your life, in your 30s. You talked about military and on time, very responsible approach to life. Where did this all start? Like, why jiu-jitsu in your 30s? I mean, like, what's wrong with you, man? Like, 30s, you should be doing something else. You came step on the mat to get beat up by younger guys. I mean, like, you smiling.
Yeah.
There has to be a story behind this.
So I joined the military when I was 17. I had to get my parents to sign off. It was my first job. As my first job, it taught me.
How did that go, by the way? Getting signed off by your parents to join military.
My dad had been in the military before, so it wasn't a big thing for them, and it was the reserves, so it wasn't like active duty. They felt a little more comfortable, I think. So it being my first job, it was very, because it's regimented. So you learn, like, personal responsibility, being on time, being early. Technically, if you're on time, you're late. Teamwork, working with people that you probably would never actually want to work with. Team building, leadership, respect for rank, like all these things kind of translated over to the jiu-jitsu side when I finally got there. But between 20 and 30, I was really lazy in a sense of I wasn't driven. I didn't have a purpose. I was heavier. I ate a lot of.
What time did the military end? I mean, not what time, but what age?
17. I think I was 25, 26, if I remember correctly.
So the lazy, quote unquote, lazy time started while you were at service?
Yeah, because it's the reserve, so it's not like 24/7. You do 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year. So it wasn't a career builder necessarily. If I was in active duty, it would have been my full-time job. But I hit 30, and 30 was like this weird moment where it felt like things were collapsing, and I felt like I had wasted 30.
Why?
And because I hadn't done anything specific, I didn't
Is that
feel like
was
I
that
went to.
contribute was that contributed by a specific event, or is it just compiled the weight on top of your back?
I think it was just the idea that kind of like now how people feel like, oh, I reached 25, I don't have kids, I'm not married, they
Mm-hmm.
get a little nervous. I had reached 30, I didn't have necessarily a career. Um, I hadn't gone to college. So there were things that I hadn't done that I felt like athletically in my prime was gone. It was on the tail end. And then 30 more years puts me at 60, and my brain is like, oh, I'm getting old.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do something physical, something challenging. So I got into jiu-jitsu, and that ended up being the thing that just sparked this whole thing for me. It gave me a purpose. It gave me passion. It helped me lose weight.
Why
I got a lot
jiu-jitsu?
healthier. I watched BJ Penn, and there was something about controlling someone else without physically hurting them that kind of piqued my interest. Like boxing also piqued my interest. Not gonna lie, I've loved boxing since I was a little kid. But there was just something wizard-like about being able to manipulate another human being that didn't want to be manipulated,
Yeah.
and then holding them, pressuring them, submitting them without really throwing a punch if he didn't want to. That just, how is he doing this? And I liked BJ Penn at the time. And it, then I got it down a rabbit hole. I would watch it more often. I started looking up videos of what jiu-jitsu was, and it piqued my interest to the point that I work at a university, and they have a jiu-jitsu program here, very basic. And I jumped into that. I did that for, I want to say maybe a year and a half. And it just repeated every 3 months because it was for students. It wasn't like an academy. I fell in love with it, and then I went out and found an academy of my own. And that's kind of like where things kicked off for the most part.
Are you married at that time? Are you what?
Yeah. I got married at 25.
Okay. So what does your wife think about all this?
She's ecstatic because it gave me purpose.
Okay.
I played a lot of video games. I ate out a lot. I was heavy. I wasn't very social.
Mm-hmm.
So jiu-jitsu gave me that third place, that spot that I can go to and have friends and hang out. Um,
Well,
I
good for
have been,
you. I
yeah,
mean, shout out to your wife, because typically wives are like, "You going there again?"
yeah,
Versus, it sounds like this is the opposite
yeah.
story here. Well,
I try to
good.
be really mindful of the balance of home and
Yeah,
jiu-jitsu, and
but it's
you,
hard, isn't it?
yeah,
Especially
yeah,
when we love something so much, and I
mhm,
think that's the difficult part, oftentimes for the family to understand, is not that we don't want to hang out with them. We just so passionate about jujitsu that we just want to be there too, and it's hard to disconnect from that, right?
yeah. And there's the physical, and then there's also like the mental. Like
The mental, yeah.
you get there, and it's that moment where you could just like take off everything else. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to worry about the spouse, the work, whatever other problems may be going on in your family, and you just go and you roll for an hour, hang out with some friends, probably more than an hour, and then you take then you take off and you go home and you go back into the world, and you just feel more centered.
Yeah.
And so I think she appreciated that aspect and understood the benefits for me.
At which
Um,
point do you begin to see changes in your personality? You talked about being introvert, and that is kind of changing. You talked about no interest to explore or learn more, and now, after years of doing this, you actually hunting it. At which point, is there a moment, or is this like an active pursuit of something new? Did you become a new person, or was it deep buried somewhere that you just discovered it?
it's probably buried somewhere in there. I've always had an interest in people and how things work, the puzzle of life or whatever. So I think in some ways, I think it was buried in there. I just needed to find it. Um, I think that it also allowed me to start looking at myself and why certain things were the way they are in me and my own personality. Because in jiu-jitsu, this sweep or submission isn't working, it's almost nothing to do with the other person. It's what are you not doing? So then that kind of trickled into my personality and the things that maybe I was shortcoming on, and how do I get better at speaking to people? How do I get better at being around people? Because I was such an introvert. Why do I shy away from attention? So then I started digging into that. And again, it goes back to childhood in a lot of ways. And I started like chiseling away at certain things about me. And that precipitated more growth. It allowed me competing. I had never competed in anything. And
when was the first time you competed?
I was a white belt, maybe a year in.
Okay.
And
so fairly early on. Okay.
And I got addicted for a while. Like I was like, oh, sign me up for the next one. Sign me up for the next one. I would drive to where if it was within.
The adrenaline rush was very appealing, huh?
Yes. That act of testing yourself against somebody else. And also there was this weird moment where I would be stressed out leading into the competition or nervous. And then you slap hands and they say go or combate. Everything else would melt away.
Yeah.
And that moment of like that second or two is what I really loved. And it was like it would quiet my mind, it would quiet everything else. And then the scramble happened. But that moment was what I genuinely, I think, fed off of. It wasn't necessarily winning the medal or winning or losing. That all came secondary to that moment of,
Why?
Nothing else matters.
Why? What was so appealing about it?
I think it goes back to, again, that my brain doesn't shut off. It doesn't quiet down. And that moment was just one of the few that I didn't have to think about the what ifs. Nothing else mattered. I prepared. I didn't prepare. Didn't matter who was watching. At this one moment, we're both even. We're both striving for the same thing. Nothing else is going to matter. And that's the thing that I think I genuinely loved about competing.
Why do so many people are scared of competing then?
Losing, potentially getting hurt.
How come you didn't care?
Sure, that's a great question. I am not sure. And it wasn't that I wasn't worried about it beforehand. I think the act of that momentary moment of peace was bigger to me than the result that might happen. And because my brain is constantly just going.
Yeah, but still, before you get to that moment, there's a lot of anticipation. There's a lot of time needs to pass by. I mean, like, you need to get to that place. You need to get out of the car, walk. Your bag is there. Like, I've been in those spots, and it seems like even that 5 or 10 minutes before your first match, it feels like freaking hours. I mean, it's just, there's so much weight oftentimes associated with all this. So how come you didn't care about losing?
I don't know. I genuinely hated the beginning part. I hated the waiting. I hated, like, especially competitions back then. I don't know about now. They're running a little better.
Yeah.
Back then, you were there for hours.
Oh my God! Don't even.
They could be running hours late. They may not know what mat you're on. They may not know who you're going. Like, there was a whole void. That aspect I hated.
I remember, like, having coaches or guys, in my corner or whatever, and they're like, I'm going to go nap and just wake me up when you're on deck. I mean, like, literally, that was the attitude, because you were there for literally hours.
My wife would be there, and I'd feel bad for her. Like she's sitting there doing nothing for hours. So the I always hated. It was just that one moment. But I'm not saying that I didn't like winning. Winning felt good. Winning felt, especially as someone who didn't compete in anything beforehand, getting a medal and being on a podium and praise online or with friends was great. It just wasn't necessarily the driving force for me. And I wish I could answer the question a little bit better.
No, it's fine. We're trying to find out.
It's one of those things I got to dive into.
Yeah, well, there you go. There is something to think about, right? At which point all of this turns into more serious thoughts. Is there a point in which you are thinking like, okay, maybe I can teach, maybe I can be a black belt, maybe I can make impact on other people, maybe I can, be a leader.
So there was a point where I was, I think a blue belt. We were at a small gym at the time, and I kind of helped coach kids and coached the women's program. I had a purple belt by the name of Will Baldwin. He was my first mentor, and I loved the way he showed up for students. I loved the way he came to every competition that I had. It didn't matter where it was. It didn't matter that we had one previous weekend. He was just super supportive, and he was always there. And that was one of those things that I felt like I have to pay this back at some point down the line. Not necessarily to him, but that coaching style was something that I hadn't necessarily had because I didn't play organized sports and I didn't have a lot of mentorship, especially from men. Yeah, I didn't have that growing up. So having him be that moment where he just, oh, whatever you need, I got you. Like, you're competing in Marietta, let's go. You're competing in San Diego downtown or where Chula Vista, let's go. And I can't remember a competition that he wasn't at. And so I kind of took that and decided that at some point when I started to coach and train and instruct, I should say, I was going to be very similar. It just took a while. I remember having to leave my first gym. Not that I'm trying to rehash the details, but I remember leaving and wanting to quit jiu-jitsu after that. We had a disagreement on some things, and
Because of that, or because you
unrelated.
Okay.
I felt like there were certain things that weren't from the gym itself that I wasn't getting, or I felt could be better. And there was a discussion, and ultimately we parted ways. And I remember getting to my car, and I got in, and I bawled. And again, being an introvert, I didn't have a bunch of friends outside of jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu was quote unquote the family. And I didn't know what was going to be next. I didn't know if I was going to, the idea of having to rebuild a core group of friends again was terrifying for me at the time. And I remember being in a car bawling, and I had to sit for a while because I couldn't necessarily see well, like tears in my eyes and everything. Eventually I got home. I took some time off. I started training or checking out other gyms. I found one, and I just couldn't get motivated. It was the one time in my life that I felt like, oh, this is what depression feels like. I couldn't get motivated. I didn't want to train. I didn't want to put on a gi. Didn't want to do anything with jiu-jitsu because it wasn't the same. I didn't have any core friends there. I didn't know anyone at this new spot. I liked the gym. I liked the instruction. And there were days where I would pull up to the gym and I would just sit there. I'm like, I don't want to go inside. I don't know anyone. I don't want to go through this. I don't want to get to know people and just to leave, like because of a disagreement or whatever. It took quite a while for me to finally like get back into the habit, and I am incredibly grateful that I didn't give up, and that I have this saying that I tell people: don't quit on your worst day. And it's really easy to quit when you're at your worst and things aren't going right. So I told myself I got to keep going. I got to keep pushing. I got to get in there. And eventually friendships started to grow, and I was able to create that group of friends that I needed again. And then right around late blue, early purple, I was awarded a class, 3 to 7 year olds, which is if you've never taught 3 to 7 year olds.
I'm laughing because we got a lot of those guys over here.
3 to 7 year olds are a different beast. I've told people if you want to learn how to teach that group. Yeah. You have to have patience. You have to simplify the technique.
Oh, yeah.
You have to keep them motivated. You have to run the class very structured.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the first time that I was teaching by myself. I had a couple of, I think I had 3 or 4 kids. And when I started, I didn't know what I was doing, to be honest with you. Like I don't have kids.
I
So,
was about to say, like, wait a minute, how does that work? I mean, talk about being dumped into a Shark Tank.
but that's what they do with blue and purple belts.
Yeah, yeah,
Hey,
no, I
go teach
do.
this class.
I know.
Am I
Yeah,
am
if
I
they
credentialed
survive,
to?
then yeah. No, I listen. It's a good test. I'm not denying it because I do the same thing. We do the same thing here, but it is a good learning curve. Like
Yeah.
it is. You can make errors. You can make it fun, and as long as you're receptive to the lessons that this brings, I think you can really grow. I mean, that's what we start all about, coaches.
Yeah.
The little guys. You survive that, and if they walk out, then we know. I was like, okay.
The it's such a great group because they don't hold anything back.
No,
If
no,
they love you, they love you. If
they
they
love you.
don't like you, they don't
They'll
like
tell
you.
you.
Yeah. If they don't like something specific, you'll hear about it.
Oh yeah.
But
Let me go back for a moment to that. Don't quit on your worst day. I think many people, especially today, when the opportunity to change facilities or change academies is maybe not embraced, but it's available. Maybe that's a good phrase. Many students find themselves in those situations where sometimes by their choice, sometimes not by their choice. They have to make hard decisions, and there's a emotional attachment to the crew, to the friends, relationships, even to the facility. Even if we disagree, there is a still attachment,
yeah,
emotional attachment to where we used to train. And it's very difficult to make these choices. You said you went back to the car and it took you a while to come back. Why do you think we get attached so much to people, facilities, systems, to this jiu-jitsu thing? Even just it's hard.
uh, it's almost like when I was in the military, or many people who are in the military, one of the things that they describe is the bond that you get by doing something very difficult with a group of people, whether it's basic training, special forces, airborne school, or whatever it might be. I think there's a little bit of that in jiu-jitsu where, as a group, you kind of almost trauma bond, if that's the right term. Uh, Jiu-jitsu is so raw; it strips away confidence, it strips away egos, and some people they get it back later. Um, it strips away a lot of the things that you think about yourself, and the people that you're training with see you sometimes at your worst. I've had training partners that they'll get super frustrated during training and they'll walk off. It's not their best moment, but because the training is so involved and it kind of pushes you to your limit, you get to see people for what they are. And there's something in that we get to pull off our mask of, oh, I'm an important executive, I'm a lawyer, I'm a police officer. None of that matters when you get on the mats. And I think that act kind of connects us a little deeper than being coworkers. Even at coworkers, we're at a distance. And so when we get that attachment, it is so hard to separate and go a different route, whether it's because you're moving to a new city or because you had an agreement or a disagreement, I should say, or the gym itself just closes down. That third place that we have in the gyms becomes our safety net, becomes our place of refuge when we're having hard times. It becomes the moment where a place where we can sometimes vent outside issues. I had a friend I remember him, he lost his job at one point, and jiu-jitsu became that safe spot for him. And it was beautiful to see. So when you have those moments where you have that safety net or that foundation of places that you can go to, separating is really difficult. Everything's intertwined. Your personal emotions, your professional development, your personal development, it's just kind of intertwined, especially if you're also an instructor. That makes it even harder because now you have students that you have to separate from, and how are they going to think of you? How are you going to be viewed once you leave? So I really think it's the act of stripping away the outer layers and really seeing people for what they're sometimes hiding.
Yeah, and that's hard.
Mm-hmm. Very.
That's hard. Yeah. So today you have changed a lot. There's a lot that had taken place in your life and a lot of changes, a lot of improvements. Do you feel like you've done good for
I think so.
yourself?
That's a question that I ask myself quite often. 44, I tend to look at. It's a little
You're
morbid.
still young. When you
I I
wait
know.
when you get to 46, life changes drastically.
Why? Well,
uh,
so I tend to think about death a lot in a sense, not in a weird way, but just like, what am I going to leave behind? If have I done enough? Have I done enough good? And I think that I'm someone that has been able to be an example for doing it differently. I have a full-time job. I'm not an active competitor, um, but I'm super technical because I spent a lot of time addressing my game and self-analyzing and understanding where my faults were, both technically and where my faults were as a human being. And I want to be able, when I leave, that people remember how kind and uh, involved I was in giving back above anything else that I might do. So that's in essence my driving force, and I think that I've done my share. There's so much more I want to do. Um, so these next however many years I have left or decades I have left are going to be geared towards that as a focal point.
you said there was so much more that you want to do, you got to do. What's the one thing that is on the forefront of your mind that needs to change, needs to adjust, needs to grow?
I think the political climate, the way it is right now, I think there's this weird us versus them mentality, and I think it's infecting more and more gyms. Um, so I think that in general, we as a community can do better about um, fostering communities that invite people in. I think one of the biggest things that we need to do as instructors is, yeah, we can create world champions. That's great. It's great for the sport. It allows the sport to grow. But really, the focal point should be the people who need jiu-jitsu most, which is often communities that don't get much attention. And I think I want to get into that space. And there's a foundation that I've been kind of toying with or deciding if I want to create or not. And I want to start creating maybe tuition for students that can't afford jiu-jitsu, women who've gone through domestic violence, or even men who come back and they're dealing with PTSD from the military, and just have a little bit of a cushion or a safety net. Hey, your tuition for the month is paid for, or if you could do even more. But I want to create something that lasts and creates a better environment for the communities that we're around. I know other people are doing it, but it's something that I want to get into.
Well, I hope you do. I hope you do. It seems like there's a lot of passion behind all of this, and honestly, I think we all could just contribute a little bit, and if
Yeah,
everybody does just a little bit, this a little bit
exactly.
becomes a lot, you know.
Mhm.
And I agree with you. There's a lot of that us versus them mentality in jiu-jitsu today, and there is a lot of finger pointing, and it's a lot of separation versus creating this more cohesive environment where we all can benefit and we all can just grow and get better and just simply have fun. I feel like life is way too complicated to make it more complicated. It's like, why are we doing some of this?
Yeah.
But
And it's weird because there was a point in time, I'm sure you remember, where it was very clan-like, and this group didn't mess with that group, and there was these clear divisions that were starting to get away from that. But at the same time, some of the us versus them is even becoming more highlighted, which is
yeah,
just weird, odd.
I think what used to exist, gym versus gym or academy versus academy, now it spreads across different academies, but it's more categorized. So gi versus no gi. Or, do you see what I'm saying? So like the divide shifted from, they're just different groups of people. And so it happens, like, yeah, you can come train anywhere with anybody. Everybody is welcome, but we don't like the gi guys, or we don't like the no gi guys, or we don't like this, we don't like that. I think as humans in general, we are very territorial creatures, and we protect our own. And I think with today's opportunity to monetize on branding and message and all the other things, I think a lot of people do take advantage of that. And maybe rightfully so. Maybe they should. If they have something to sell, then maybe they should be selling. But I do think that creates separation versus bringing people together.
There's also that whole mentality of like where you think that there's only so many resources and only so many eyeballs or only so many wallets. And really, people can listen to multiple podcasts. People can listen to have multiple style gis, multiple style instructionals. That it's short-changing and in the end, I think detrimental to the culture as a whole. And that's something we really need to get away from.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I could not agree with you more. I think we need more good people in Jiu-Jitsu, and we do see some of that. So it's not all negative. But I think we do all need to look at it from a step back a little bit and look at it from a larger perspective. David, we've been at this for well over an hour at this point. So before we start wrapping this up, as guys are listening, guys and girls are listening to this conversation, if anybody wants to connect with you, and anybody wants to reach out to you, are you available to connect? Are you on social media, websites? Where can we find you? In case anybody wants to directly message you and kind of continue that conversation that we just had.
So I'm super active on Instagram and Threads, dfm.2099. I love fielding questions. I love helping people and just in connecting. I was on a couple of other podcasts and it's generated a couple of discussions, and I found a couple of friends that just through jiu-jitsu and podcasts and the internet, and it's been a really beautiful thing. And the discussions that we have are great. And if anyone ever wants to add, reach out to me. Whether it's a question about culture, question about technique, please do. I also have dfmcoaching.com if anyone wants to have some remote coaching with me, or they want to have their competition or sparring video reviewed. I do a lot of that as well. I'm open for workshops. Really, what you get from me is someone that genuinely cares and wants to help other people. I'm not driven by necessarily notoriety. I really just want to help.
Well, and we need more people like that. So as you guys are listening to this conversation and to this truly amazing story, I encourage you to, check out his website. That's number one. And to, reach out to him directly. And as always, I will put all of the links below this episode in the show notes of this episode. So if you guys want to reach out, take advantage of it, I highly, highly encourage you. David, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for sharing your wisdom. And, thanks for putting yourself out there and just having this conversation, because, for us introverts, that's not always easy, is it?
No, not at all. But I generally love these things. A lot of, like, you have a really easy personality. Conversation flows. So it's a testament to how good you are at what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate that. Hopefully, this brings not only a good conversation, but also what I always see, an impact to others, and others can really learn something, improve things, and maybe take a little note here and there, and just listen. If we can better just one person through one episode, I've done my job. That's how I look at it, because this is why I do this. So I love it. I love these conversations, and I love these friendships that we just created.
Thank you.
Thanks for hanging out with me today, and let's wrap this up.
Thank you for listening to Raw Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.